This right here, starting on number 18 with this review for first semester, just going over some basic things that we need to make sure we know. First off, in this question, it says, in a recent study, data was collected to chart the amount of bacteria growth which occurs over a certain number of hours. What is the independent quantity? You need to remember that independent is x. This is the thing that happens first. Okay, it's the cause. That's another way to think of it, the cause. Well, first off, the two things that they're talking about is bacteria growth and a certain number of hours. My independent variable is going to be the hours, because as the hours goes on, what happens to the bacteria? It grows. So the thing that's happening first is going to be the number of hours. So the dependent would be the amount of bacteria growth. How could you write this if you were supposed to write it as a sentence with depends on? You need to remember that we go with the idea that y depends on x. Well, y, or I could say the dependent depends on the independent. So I could write the amount of bacteria growth depends on the number of hours. Okay, you need to remember that y depends on x. Next, number 19 says to graph y equals 4x plus 3. What's the first thing you do when you're graphing? The first thing you do is graph the y-intercept. Remember, this is the x, this is the y. So I'm going to go on the y-intercept up to 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to put a dot. The slope is this number right here. That's 4. Well, it's a whole number. I need it to be a fraction, so I put it over 1. How does that tell me to move? It's positive, so it tells me to move up, the bottom number to the right. So right here, I'm going to start at my y-intercept. I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, and to the right 1 and put a dot. Now, I'm out of room here, but I need to go backwards so I can go back to the y-intercept, and this time I'm going to do it opposite. I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, and to the left 1. Down 1, 2, 3, 4, to the left 1. And then I can draw my line. Next, the graph of a linear function forms a straight line. Remember the idea that we talked about linear? Linear has the word line in it. So from a graph, you know if something's linear because it has a straight line. How do you know if from a table if it's linear? A table, you would go through and find and make sure that delta y divided by delta x is the same. What was the other thing? I was thinking linear, straight line, a table, delta y over delta x is the same. Oh, I know. What is the linear parent function? What's the equation for that? The linear parent function is y equals x. Okay? Next it says Katie wants to buy some new books. The books are on sale for $10 each, and there are 7 books she wants to buy. She also plans to purchase a bookcase for her books, which is on sale for $30. The following equation for the situation is y equals 10x plus 30. The graph for the situation, would it be continuous or discrete? Well, what is it that we're doing? What is the x? It's $10 for each what? Each book. Okay, for discrete, this is what's got to be whole numbers. And continuous means that it can be fractions and decimals. Can you go into the store and say, I want to buy a half of a book? You cannot say, if the book is $10, I only have $5, so tear it in half. I only want to read the end. Okay? So it has got to be discrete. Next it asks, what is a reasonable domain? Domain is X. Now, what type of numbers can X not be? Can the books not be? Can I have negatives? You can't go in and ask for -2 books. They can't be negative numbers. They can't be decimals. And they cannot be fractions. Okay, so for example, I could write domain equals, I could buy 0. I could just buy the bookcase. 1, 2, 3, and I put ... and I could actually put up to a reasonable number. I mean, it's not like you're going to go up there and buy 1,000,000 books. Next it says, Monica makes $50 babysitting. She decides to put half of the money she earned into her bank account, and then will add $10 per week into her account starting next week. Write an equation that best describes T, the total amount of money that Monica has after W weeks. Well, if I think about this, I could go here and I've got weeks, and I've got the amount of money. In the beginning, how much does she make? $50. After 1 week, she has put $10 into the account. Now it goes to $60. After 2 weeks, she puts in another $10. That goes to $70. Okay, what am I increasing by? I'm increasing by 10. That's my coefficient. That's my slope. So the total amount of money is $10 times the number of weeks plus 50. The next thing says, how much money will she have after 12 weeks? You'll take $10 times 12 plus 50. This is 120 plus 50, which is $170. Here's the next one. State whether the correlation is positive, negative, or none for each of the following. Okay, so let's go and talk about this. If it's positive, that means that both quantities are going in the same direction. So they will either both be going up or both be going down. Now some people go, how can this be positive if they're both going down? Well, when we multiply, what's a negative times a negative? A positive. So it works the same way. Now if it has a negative correlation, it means that one is going up, the other is going down. No correlation means they don't even make sense. Okay, so looking up here, it says the amount of money collected and the length of time it takes to reach your goal. Okay, the time it takes to reach your goal. The more time it takes, the more money you're going to collect. This should be positive. The next one, a child's weight and his age. The older he gets, now up to a reasonable age, the older he gets, the more he weighs. So this again is positive. A person's hair color and his shoe size. Do those two have anything to do with each other? No, they do not. There is no correlation. The next one says the temperature outside and the number of cases of frostbite. The colder it is, okay, so it's going down. The colder it is, what happens to your chances of frostbite? It increases. See how they're going in different directions? This is a negative correlation. The next one says driving time and the distance traveled. The longer you drive, the longer your distance is. This is a positive correlation. Which of the following represents a linear function? So out of all of these right here, which one makes a line? Oh, I guess I need to go get my calculator here. Okay, so I'm going to pull up that calculator. Now what I would do right now, those of you waiting, I would go in the equations, put those in the calculator, go to y equals and put them in the calculator and see if they make a straight line. So for example, I'll start over here with the first one, y equals 5. And I press graph. Does that make a straight line? Yes, it does. That is linear. So let's see here, that does. If I go and get the next one, let's try y equals x. It better, because what is y equals x? What did we say that function was called? Linear parent function. So yes, this right here, and it better because it is the linear parent function. The next one right here, if I go up here, I've got, let's put 3x plus 5. And I press graph. Does it make a straight line? Yes, it does. Man, okay, do all of these work? What about this next one? X squared plus 6. Nope, that makes that curve thing called a parabola. Okay, we will learn about that second semester. Now, these two right here, what did I say just a little while ago? How do you know in a table if it's linear? Oh, I moved all that. You know in a table it's linear if delta y divided by delta x is the same. So let's start with this first one right here. I've got plus 2, plus 2, plus 2. That's delta y. Delta x plus 1 plus 2 plus 2. Uh-oh. See, I have 2 over 1, which is 2. But then down here I have 2 divided by 2. That's 1. These numbers right here are not the same. They are not linear. Okay, well, let's see if this next one is over here, this next table. Let me erase this to give me room. Delta y, the change in y. What is that, 16? What is that one? That's 8. And 24. Delta x plus 2 plus 1 plus 3. 16 divided by 2 is 8. 8 divided by 1 is 8. 24 divided by 3 is 8. Okay, all of these are the same. So yes, this table is linear. Next, it says to solve for m. Let me make that larger for blind people like me. Okay. What's the first thing we're going to do? You need to look. We're trying to get m by itself. You need to add or subtract first. So I'm going to take this 20 and move it to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 20 from each side. I get negative 4m equals, oh, I shouldn't have put it over there. I should have put it, oh, I moved it. Oh, well. Let's see. 44 minus 20 is 24. I'm going to divide by negative 4 to each side. M equals negative 6. The next one, for a car traveling at a speed of 60 miles per hour, the relationship between the distance traveled and the time traveled is described in the function d equals 60t. The distance traveled blank on the time traveled. The distance traveled blank on the time traveled. The time traveled. Okay, so I guess we're going to use phrases like depends on, determines, and stuff like that. Remember, y depends on x. Well, y is the same as the d, and x is the same as the t. So right here, I can put the distance traveled depends on, oops, didn't spell depends right. Depends on the time traveled. But what can I use for this next one? Because the next one, they switched it. And it says the time traveled, or the time traveled, and I could write, the only one that we know right now is determines the distance traveled. Because the longer you drive, the farther you go. That's the only one that will make them go opposite, where x comes first. Number 30. If 4 cans of family-sized beans cost $12.96, how many cans of family-sized beans can be purchased for $32.40? Okay, 4 cans cost this much. So how many cans, you could do this a couple ways. You could set it up as a ratio and a proportion, but I would do it like this. I would take $12.96 and divide it by 4. How much does each can cost? So if I go in my home screen here, I put in there $12.96 divided by 4. It's $3.24. Or no, 3.24. Uh-oh. So that means that each one of these is $3.20. Each can is $3.24. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the total and divide it by how much each can costs to find out how many cans. So I'll go up here and I take, back to my calculator, I take 32.40 and we're going to divide it by $3.24 and I get 10. So with that money I can purchase 10 cans. You also could have set it up as a ratio or proportion, saying that 4 cans cost $12.96 and how many cans cost $32.40. That's how you learned it in the past. Trying to figure out what do you have to multiply here by your scale factor. Okay? In order to figure out how many cans it is. Alright, next right here. Which of the following best describes the relationship between the corresponding x and y values? When you have a table like this, the easiest thing to do is to go into your calculator. Let's see, go into y equals, let's try the first one. X plus 9. And go second graph. See if these points are in there. I'm going to stop already because it says 0, 9. Well, that says 0, negative 3. So I know it's not A. Let's do B. Let's go in here and put x squared. Remember, you have the squared button right here. Minus 3. Second graph. Does it say negative 2, negative 1? Yes. 0, negative 3? Yes. 2, 1? Sure does. And 5, let's see, yep, 522. So there's my answer. The answer would be B. The next one, Sarah started with $35 in her school lunch account. Each week she spends $8.50 on lunch. Write an equation that best describes A, the amount in Caitlin's lunch account after a certain number of weeks. Okay, she starts with $35 in her account. And then she spends $8.50 on lunch. So I get, oh, each week, sorry, each week, I was missing that. Each week she spends $8.50. So I'm going to subtract $8.50 times the number of weeks. And that will always tell you how much is in her account. Next, it says write y equals 2x plus 5 in function notation. Hold up. What is function notation? All that function notation is when we write f of x equals, and you write the rest of this right here, 2x plus 5. That's all that means. Next, list at least 2 other names for the coefficient. What else can we call the coefficient? One of them starts with an S. Slope. There's a phrase that starts with an R. Rate of change. We can also call it delta y over delta x. They also use the phrase rise over run. Okay, you could use any of these. Our most common ones, though, are right here, the slope and the rate of change. Next. Mark works at a local music store. He makes $7 each hour. Write an equation. Y equals 750 times x. That's my code word right here, each, telling me that I'm multiplying, that the 750 is my coefficient. Okay, here's one. The line goes through the point 2, -3, and has a slope of -1/2. Graph the line and write the equation. All right, the equation, remember the equation is y equals mx plus b. M is the slope. We already know the slope, so I already know the first part of the equation. There's the first part. I need to find the y-intercept, though. So let's plot the point 2, -3. I go over 2, go over 2 and down 1, 2, 3, and put a dot. Now my slope is -1/2. How does that tell me to move? Down 1 and to the right 2. So as I start here and I go down 1 and to the right 2, down 1, oops, to the right 2, that's not going to help me find my y-intercept. What do I need to do? I need to go backwards. And I'm going to go up 1 and to the left 2. Ding, 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 ding. There's my y-intercept. That's it. The y-intercept is at 0, -2. So my equation would be -1/2 x minus 2. And I will draw my line to connect my dots. Next, it says a certain function can be modeled using the table. What is the slope? So the slope, we need to do delta y over delta x. Right here, delta y minus, what is that, 8? Right here is, that looks like that's a -3, so that's -8. And this is -16. Delta x, this is +2, +2, and +4. So I'll take -8 over 2, which is -4. Well, let's double check that other one. -16 divided by 4, -4. There is my slope. My slope is -4. My y-intercept is already in this table. Do you see it? The y-intercept is right here where x is 0. So the y-intercept is 0, 5. My equation, remember, y equals mx plus b. M is the slope, b is the y-intercept. I have y equals -4 x plus 5. There's my equation. Find the slope between these 2 points. If this is all it gives you, what do? Build a table, and let's put in there 1, 8, and 5, 9. Remember, this is my x and my y. Some people get this confused. That's x and y, x and y. So now you're going to do delta y, the change in y, plus 1, delta x, plus 4. Slope is the change in y over the change in x. 1 over 4. That is your slope. Stacy is a photographer who charges $30 for a sitting fee, $5 for each 5x6 photo. She decides to increase her sitting fee to $35. How will this change the graph of Stacy's earnings? Well, wait a minute. The first equation, sorry, something in my throat. The first equation comes from this information right here. So I have y equals 5x plus 30. What if she decided to increase this y-intercept to 35? What's that going to do to your graph? How does the y-intercept make it move? Does it make it steeper or flatter? No. This affects the steepness. This just changes its position on the y-axis. So this is going to shift or move the equation up 5 units. The next one said, what kind of equation represents a line having a zero slope? What does a line look like? Okay, a zero slope is either going to be horizontal or vertical. Which one is a zero slope? It is going to be a horizontal line. Okay, that's a line. Let me see here if I can make a graph. Okay, my horizontal line is going to look like this. What kind of equation makes this? This is y equals and then any number. So you could have y equals 6, y equals -2. It does not have an x on it. It just has the number. Write an equation that represents a line with an undefined slope. Okay, undefined is going to be a vertical line. That line is going to be going up and down. And in this case, it will be x equals some number. So you could have x equals 4, x equals -8. It doesn't matter. You could have x equals 0. Any of those would work, but an undefined slope is a vertical line. All right, we got Crazy Kayaking Company. Rents kayaks on Lake Conroe. They charge $26 to rent the kayak and $5.50 per hour to spend time on the lake. You can rent the kayak for a maximum of 8 hours. The portion of the fee chart is shown below. What is the rate of change? Now you can go up here in the table and do delta y over delta x. But I already can tell you right here, that tells me my coefficient because rate of change is the same as my slope and my coefficient. And that is 550. See, because if you went up here in the table and did delta y, you'd get 550 over 1. So you could find your slope either way. What is the initial charge? Initial charge is the constant. That's this amount of money right here. It's the one-time charge, $26. Whoop, let's make a 6 here. Oh, let's try that again. 26. So my equation is going to be y equals 550 x plus 26. There's your equation. Next, it says, what is the equation of the line graphed, or the given graph? We need to find the slope and the y-intercept. The easiest thing to do is go and get the y-intercept right here. It is 0, -2. Now my slope. The line is going down. It is decreasing. That means my slope is negative. Now, let's go. How do we go to the next point? If I go down 1 and to the right 1, is that on the line? Nope, not quite. But if I go down 1 and over 2, ding, 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 ding. Let's test it again. Down 1 and over to the right 2. Yes. 1 over 2. There is my slope. So we have y equals mx plus b. Y equals -1/2 x minus 2. What is the slope of a line that is parallel to y equals -2x? When two lines are parallel, what's true about their slopes? The slopes are the same. So if you're looking for the slope of this line, of the parallel line, it would be -2. Do not put x. X is not a slope, just the number. The next one says write an equation that passes through the point 0, 8. Okay, that's important information right there. And is parallel to y equals -2x. So there's my other important part. I know that my slope is -2 and my y-intercept is 0, 8. I have y equals -2x plus 8. So there's my equation. Next, it says write an equation of a line that goes to the point -1, 3 and has a slope of -4. Okay, well, it gives me my m, it gives me my slope. I need to find my b. See, if I knew part of the equation, I could have y equals -4x, because if it was a multiple choice question, the first thing I would do is eliminate what didn't have this. Now let's find out what the y-intercept is. So I'm going to build a table, put in there -1, 3, and then the first thing that goes in there is the slope. The slope is -4 times x, so times -1. When you multiply these together, you get +4. What do you have to add or subtract of 4 to get to 3? You subtract 1, and that is your constant. That is your y-intercept. So it's -1. The next one, does the ordered pair 2, 4 belong in the equation y equals 2x plus 1? Well, let's go into the calculator and put the rule into the calculator. So go up here and I'm going to put in there 2x plus 1. Press second graph. Let's look and see if 2, 4 is in there. Does it say 2, 4? No, it says 2, 5. Oh, I guess I can write with that. No. 2, 5 belongs. Okay, and I looked that up in my calculator. Next, draw a better trend line to represent the data. Okay, what do I need to do to that trend line? Do I need to make it steeper or flatter? No. I just need to make and move that line up. See, let's see if I can draw a line on top of it. Oh, I didn't want that red line. Let's try again. Oh, go away, which would be delete. Let's try again. Okay, here we go. I'm going to put a line on top of it. Now, what I'm trying to ask is to make a better trend line. Do I make it steeper? I'm sorry, that's flatter. Make it flatter? Does that work? It goes to the points, but not right, not at the right angle. So what I need to do is just shift it up. So there's a good trend line. So I need to shift, move the line up. The line, which is actually, we're going to move the y-intercept up. What type of correlation exists in the following data? Okay, well, let's remember this. This will take us back a ways. Let's go in the calculator and put in there stat and enter. Let's put the x is in L1. I'm trying to write with the mouse now. There we go. And the y is into L2. Okay, so I'm going to put in there 2, 3, 6, 8, and 9. And over here I've got 4, 5, 7, 7.5, and 8. Now if I go to graph it, oh, I got to move that equation out of there. If I go to graph it, do I see the points? No, what do you have to do? You have to turn on your stat plot. So I'm going to go second y equals, enter, enter. Now let's graph it. I do see these points. If I want to see them better, remember we can press zoom 9. What type of correlation is that? It's going up from left to right, so it is a positive correlation. Next, it says Kathy's aunt gave her $5,000. She spends $400 a month on car payments. This situation is represented by y equals 5,000 minus 450x. What is the y-intercept? The y-intercept is 5,000. A lot of people try and say it's the last number. That's not what it is. It's that constant. What does the y-intercept represent? The money Kathy's aunt gave her. All right, what are the x and y intercepts of this graph? Let's see if I make this a little bigger here. Please remember, this is the x, this is the y. My x-intercept is right here, so my x-intercept is 1, 0. My y-intercept is 1, 2, 3. Down here is 0, negative 3. Please make sure you know the difference between the x and the y-intercept and where the zeros are. What are the x and y intercepts when you're not given a graph, you're just given an equation? Well, the x-intercept, if I cover up the y, I get negative 4x equals 8. I have a lot of people that tell me that the x-intercept is just negative 4. They tell me it's the number that's with the x. That's not what you have to do. You have to solve for it. You have to divide by negative 4. X equals negative 2. So my x-intercept is negative 2, 0. My y-intercept, well, let me uncover this here. If I go up here and I'm going to cover up the x, it is not 2. I'm telling you, this is the most common mistake. People just look and see whatever number's with the y and tell me that's the y-intercept. You must take 2y equals 8 and solve for y. We divide by 2. Y equals 4. My y-intercept is 0, 4. Simplify the expression. Well, let me make that bad boy bigger. All right. What's the first thing you need to do? In order of operations, it's parentheses. So let's do the distributive property, hippity-hoppity right here. I've got 4x, negative 2 times x, negative 2x, negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. Then just bring this down, plus 5. Okay, we did the distributive property. Now let's combine like terms, and I get 2x, and then put these two together, minus 1. This is your simplified answer. Do not tell me it's equal to anything. There's no equal sign in here. An expression does not have an equal sign. Okay, number 56. What is the perimeter of the rectangle shown in terms of x? Perimeter means to add up all sides. So the biggest mistake is people will just add up and tell me it's 6x plus 1. What are they doing? If I say 6x plus 1, that's not right. What did they do? All they did was add up these two right here. You can't do that. You have to add up all the sides. So I would go and label this is x minus 3. This is 5x plus 4. Okay, so I have 5, 10, 11, and 12. 12x, and then I have 4 plus 4 is 8, minus 3 is 5, minus 3 is 2, plus 2. That is the perimeter, because it says in terms of x. I'm not looking for, I don't know a specific number. I just know that it's in terms of x. Here's the next one. It says solve for x. Okay, I'm going to draw my line. What's the first thing I need to do? The distributive property. So I'm going to bring down the negative 9x. So I've got negative 9x. 2 times 3 is 6x plus 6x. 2 times negative 6 is negative 12 equals 15. Now you're going to combine like terms. Put these together. You get negative 3x minus 12 equals 15. Add 12 to each side. Negative 3x equals 27. Divide by negative 3. X equals negative 9. Okay, this one says domain is the set of x values. Range is the set of y values. Next it says what is the range of the function f of x equals 3x squared plus 1 when the domain is negative 1, 1, and 2. Okay, first off, underline the word range, put y above it. Underline the word domain, put x above it. Now, so that you don't look in the wrong spot, I highly suggest you go and make a table, put x and y. It says our x numbers are, so let's put in there negative 1, 1, and 2. So I'm going to go now to my calculator. Well, I'm going to clear the calculator because I did all that stat plot stuff. All right. Go to y equals, and I'm going to put 3x squared plus 1. And I'm going to press second graph. Let's look and see where x is negative 1. Y is 4. So I'm going to put up here, I've got 4. Oh, where'd you go? When x is 1, y is 4 again. When x is 2, it is 13. Now, when we go to write this, r equals, the range equals, you don't need to write the 4 twice. Okay, you just write 4 and 13. If it repeats itself, you don't need to write it more than once.